speaking beyond our borders, on land, on the seas and in the air. This is the Chief Koti Show.
Guys, welcome again to yet another explosive edition of the Chief Koti Show. And of course, in this edition, I'm talking to a very good friend of mine, a businessman in the country, one to reckon with, I guess. Yeah, we're going to hear more of his story. His name is Brandon Palmer. He runs a business that I pronounce as SABRE, right? But he says SABRE. I don't know if it's a Chirungu thing or it's a, I don't know what it is. Brandon, how are you?
As a chief, thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you for coming, well, for allowing us to be here. We're actually at the SABRE Business Center. What do you guys do here?
So we've got rooms that we hire out for corporate events, and then we use a lot of the rooms ourselves for our training courses.
Okay, good. And I happen to be one of the students also for one of the courses. We're going to talk about that a little later on. But perhaps we start off by just knowing who is Brandon Palmer.
Okay, so I'm obviously a Zimbabwean. I hail from Kwekwe originally. I went to school here. I did leave after school to go overseas. I went to the UK for 4 years, Ireland for 4 years. Found my wife, who's the same tribe. She's also Zimbabwean. And then we moved back in 2004.
So you actually met in the UK?
We met before, but we were transitioning. Like she was going to university, I was going just to work.
Okay.
And then we kind of stayed together for that 8 years. And then I proposed to her at Victoria Falls on one of our holidays. And then about 6 months later, we moved home to stay home and have some children and get settled.
So you met within these 8 years, you were not married?
No, we were not.
So you were chiring Mapoto, yeah?
No.
Do you know that phenomenon in Zimbabwe? Because when did the cows actually go?
So she was at university first of all.
Okay.
So for 4 years.
I see. So you're not together at home?
Not together, no. Not only on weekends.
Yeah, no, I see. I see what you mean. So what exactly do you do?
So what we've got a training business that focuses on personal high performance and business success. And we've tried to link the two things together because our philosophy is you one person living one life and you get one chance. And within our life or our lives, there's different aspects. So we've got our personal aspect, our family aspect, our professional aspect, all these different things. A big part of life for all of us as adults is business. So we need to be in business to get money to live the life that we want. So we've tried to create our programs to speak to the importance of getting the balance of getting both right, your professional side of life and your personal side of life. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what we do. Is there such a
thing like balance really though? Or it's just a fallacy?
I think balance is something that we will continue to strive for. But in my experience, it's just good to be aware that balance is a good thing. Because we've experienced, and it's a lot of people in their, it seems to be there's an age. So people in their mid-40s and people in their mid-60s.
They're looking for that balance.
No, it's where you realize that if somebody hasn't had it during those periods of life, there's the repercussions become apparent in your 40s or in your 60s.
Oh, that's where you start seeing this.
Yeah, the cost of not looking for balance. So the most common mistake people make that we've seen is focusing on money only.
Shamwari, I have to focus on money.
Yeah,
otherwise,
so we have to put food on the table, pay for school fees, do all the stuff that we have to do, which requires money. But there's a lot of people that get too focused on the money and they forget about the other parts of life. So a common thing is divorce. Another common thing that is super sad, but it's real, is that a lot of people get into their 60s when they're now retiring with money and their families are not really
they're empty.
Interested, because they were never there for their families whilst they were growing up. So to me, that's where balance comes in. We've got to make the money and we've got to have the time for our families, for our social life, for personal life.
But you talk about balance. In your life as you were growing up, was there balance, do you think? Did you have both parents there? Did you have a father figure to emulate? Just take us through that.
My story is my father died when I was 16. So it was at the beginning of Form 4. Thank you. Which I've learnt by having my own children being 16 years old is a very difficult age anyway. So I didn't really have a father figure in the times of my life, I suppose, where I most needed one. So I was pretty rebellious as a teenager.
I cannot picture you as a rebellious teenager. I can't.
Rules applied to other people, not me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because I lost my father or if it was going to happen anyway. But yeah, so I didn't have that. And in terms of the balance in my childhood, we moved around a lot. You know, we originally from Kwekwe, we moved to Chinoy, we moved to Banket, we moved to Middle Sabi. So we went like all around the country. Harare was one of the places. So it was quite there wasn't a place or a home to call a home. We stayed in many places. So I don't think
Why
I
is
had a
that
very
though? Is it because of the work that the parents did? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
And my dad chopped and changed jobs along the way.
Okay.
So it was exciting. It was interesting because we were always going to another place.
Yeah.
But in terms of having a firm foundation and the balance that brings, I didn't really have that as a youngster. I did have it from a school perspective because I stayed. My school career is not a great story either, but I stayed in the one school I went to junior school at Lomagandi and senior school up to Form 4. Then as a result of my rebellious nature, I had to leave Lomagandi and I went to Eaglesville.
Did you leave voluntarily or something happened?
It was semi. So I did ask the question because they told me they would like me to leave. And I said, well, what if I say no? And they said, then we'll expel you. So I said, no, okay, don't worry.
You don't have to. I'll leave anyway.
So my story is I was asked to leave. I wasn't forced.
I see. I understand you. We all have our own stories along the way, you know, that are quite interesting. I look at also my schooling journey, not very pleasing. I share it with my children just because I want them to learn something from it, not because I would like for them to emulate it. I don't think that it would work.
No, I definitely don't want my children emulating my story.
Yeah, that's not a good one. It wouldn't work. Yeah. But you turned out good. You turned out great. What changed along the way that made you realize that, look, I have to get my stuff in order, otherwise I'm in trouble?
So I think from a very early age, I always had a clear ambition that I wanted to be a businessman, that I wanted to set up a business. I wanted to be a boss. I wanted to take my own destiny into my own hands. And I wanted to be in control of what I do or don't achieve. Maybe a part of that was learning a lot of resilience and being the underdog in many instances because of changing schools at that age, just various stuff like that. I think it gave me a determination. And then with that, knowing that I wanted to be a businessman, not knowing what business I wanted to do, it was just always in my mind. And I don't know where it came from. I think it was like from 10 years old, it was always clear in my mind. So that was the starting point, is I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss at the end of the day.
But you didn't know how to do it.
I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what being a boss was. I didn't know what I was going to actually do or be the boss of even.
Yeah.
But I knew that was the plan.
But you ended up being a numbers guy. What happened there? Because I mean, usually numbers guys are very disciplined. They're very, you know, they are good boys basically.
So I think I've taught myself the numbers in a very much in a business perspective.
Yeah.
So when I did O-level maths, the results kept coming back telling me that I was unbelievable at maths.
Like as in you're good at it.
Unbelievable. That was my mark.
I see what you did there.
I've come to decide that if you are extremely good at maths, they'll say it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. So I was unbelievable also in maths. I didn't write maths anyway. So,
But I never understood maths. And what happened after school is when I'd met Sally and I'd met the in-laws, Sally's father was very old school and wondering what Sally was doing with this guy that didn't even get O-level maths. And I didn't really have a plan either, because, you know, as a father for your daughter, you're going to say to the suitor, what's your plan?
Yeah.
And I didn't have one.
What were you doing in the UK anyway, in the first place?
I was just doing odd jobs, so whatever I could do.
Okay.
So I started doing things like on farms because I could drive a tractor. That was actually one of my favorite jobs, driving a tractor during their harvest, which was cool because, you know, in those days, the tractors had radios in them, so we could listen to the UK radio, which was something we hadn't been exposed to.
Which was your favorite station there?
I think Virgin whatever station it was, that was the one that I listened to. Anyway, so I did that for a while, and then I eventually got into an office job because in my mind I thought I've got to get a plan. Obviously, I had a bit of pressure from the in-law, but I've also got to, you know, expose myself to different things to see what I enjoy, what I don't enjoy, because I'm not going to be able to live the life that I want being a tractor driver. Which is sad. I would have loved to have been able to make lots of money driving a tractor. So I did get into some office jobs to get some exposure. And that's kind of where I think I started on the more professional trajectory.
And what kind of job was that, though?
I was a assistant debtors clerk for Lufthansa German Airlines. Which sounds all cool. And I did get I think it's an experience that has served me super, super well in the rest of my life. Because I was working
debt collection.
Working for the Germans.
Or working for the Germans.
Yeah, because
they're very strict guys.
They're very strict.
Straight.
They strive for excellence it's like almost, I think it's a culture there.
No,
you can see it in their products, and, you know, they also don't have filters. So if they're not happy, they just tell you. There's no beating around the bush, nothing. They're straight. And they taught me lots of very valuable life lessons.
Yeah.
And they also showed me how to set a standard and then stick to that standard.
And are you using any of this in your current business setup in any way?
I think the influence of it is quite obvious in lots of the things that I do, and in lots of the ways that I've set up my business and my businesses even.
And looking at business, I want to talk about your movement from a tractor driver to an MD to a CEO. How was that journey from a business perspective? When did the lights really switch on? Because you knew already that you wanted to own something, you wanted to be a boss somewhere, and I think Lufthansa gave you an opportunity to be somebody's boss in some way.
No, I was at the bottom.
You were at the bottom of the chain.
Yeah, very bottom.
So how was that journey? How was that transition?
So from there, I was obviously applying for bigger jobs where I could have, I wouldn't be at the bottom. And because I had no qualifications and I also had no experience, and I was a foreigner in a foreign land, which those are all points against you. I arrived at the conclusion that I'm going to have to get some kind of paper behind me. So I started doing, when I moved to Ireland, I got a job at an accounting firm, and part of the job was that they paid for you to study the degree, and it was either ACCA or their equivalent of ICAS, so the Chartered Accountant degree. So I did that with them for 4 years. And I got, almost qualified during that time because I failed a few exams. And then when I came back to Zim, I stayed in that profession and I got a job here for one of the big accounting firms.
So, but you got the degree though?
I got the degree side in Ireland.
In Ireland, yeah.
And then when I came back here, I had to do some conversion papers for tax law, company law, that kind of stuff. So I did another year and a bit working here for one of the big firms. And did my other exams from here.
And how long did it take you to establish yourself and to say, look, I'm leaving formal employment and with a wife, and I think you had kids at the time, right?
So at that time I didn't have kids yet.
Yeah.
So I left the formal employment because it was during the ZWL days. And when I first started, my paycheck was $1 million a month. And I thought this was
You're
proper
a
big people
millionaire.
stuff. Yeah. And the $1 million then was, you could still live on that. It was probably like the $1,500 in today's terms.
Yeah.
But very quickly, it's by the end of it, it was actually costing me $2 million to get to work.
Wow.
That's not getting home either or eating.
Jeez.
So I ended up staying there just to finish my stint there. And then I set up my own accounting business.
Oh, you set up your own accounting business and you started
working. So that was the beginning of going on my own.
Okay. So and your wife at this time, was she agreeing with you to move out and set up by yourself and things? Was it easy? How difficult was that?
It was very hard. So we were young. I think by the time I had left that formal employment, we had our firstborn either on the way or he had arrived.
Yeah.
So now obviously the pressure increases when you've got a child, things change in your life, you've got more responsibilities. And now taking this risk of going on our own, for my wife at the time, she was a lot less of a risk taker than I was. So anyway, the agreement that we came up with is I'll do it on my own until such time as it's making enough money to be able to pay what she was earning from her job. And at that point, she would come and join me.
Okay.
So that's what we did. That took about, I don't know, about 9 months to a year. So she then left her formal employment and we went into business together, which was the accounting firm.
So I don't know, I'm a bit superstitious maybe, but every time there's a pregnancy, things shift. Either you lose your job, you get a new one, finances dry up. Is that?
So someone said to me right at the beginning of our having children stage of life, every child brings with it its own crust. And I never really understood what that meant until I had 3 kids. And then looking back and looking at what had happened. So when we had our firstborn, we also took on a partner. And that happened around about the firstborn's birth. And that was a game changer for us. So what I found when I went into business on my own and with Sally, my wife, we didn't have accountability. We didn't understand it. We used to work when we needed money, then we would chill, and then we would always be wondering, like, where's the money? It's like, we haven't worked for it, stupid. How can it be there? So we decided we've got to level up, and we didn't trust ourselves to do it on our own. So we got an accountability partner. And that guy's role was to be our chairman and to bring us to account on a monthly basis, which was us presenting our monthly results versus the budget.
So is this chairman at a personal level or at a business level?
At a business level.
Okay.
It was Sally's uncle who lived in Australia. So it actually was a very maybe divinely guided intervention because we were very much consumed in the Zimbabwe story. Hyperinflation, blah, 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 blah.
So you were living a day at a day, day after day.
We had become like expert excuse generating machines. So we would make our own excuses. We would blame others and other things, other people, other circumstances for our lack of delivering a result. And this guy coming from Australia, not being in the environment, he was like, it doesn't matter about all of those things. Where's your result? And in the beginning, we were like, this guy is so uncompassionate and he doesn't understand. And we used to get so frustrated. And I don't know, I think it took us probably 2 or 3 years of having those board meetings where we were just delivering excuses. And him saying, I'm not interested in excuses, I'm interested in results. Took us that long to try to properly understand what he was actually doing, which was a good thing for us. And I think those lessons I've definitely brought into my future life because I'm very much around accountability. And one of our, company cultures here is no excuses, no blame, and no stories.
Yeah, there's lots of stories. You know, we tell a lot of stories, especially during payment times.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone somehow becomes dishonest around that time.
It's like, no, you know, we have problems and things like that. But is this something that you would advise a startup or a starter up, as it were, to find that accountability partner or chairman, as it were?
I think everyone's different, but I think if when we're younger, especially when we're younger, we definitely need wisdom, which we don't have. And if you're going to get a partner or a mentor or a chairman involved, I definitely think, for me anyway, it was a game changer. Because like that guy's name was Eric. Eric taught me stuff that I had to learn. And those lessons are generally the hard to learn ones. You don't want to, I'm the boss, I own the business, who are you to tell me what to do? All of those kind of childish things, which he managed to very quickly get me to get over. But also then as a human, it opens you up and you take things less personally. And in business is a game, yes it is. But it's also a game where we're trying to win. And if we go into business with too much ego and we closed and we cannot accept criticism, we did.
But how do you manage to keep a straight head and not have an ego when the money is coming? You know, we love to live flashy. We buy the gold chains, we buy the watches, we do this. And at that time, that's when you're saying you're supposed to keep a cool head and get those things out of sight.
And generally, if you've got an older mentor or a chairman, you'll see that they don't generally have all that stuff. They did it. And then they've matured and now it's no longer that important. It's the younger people that do that.
Is it? Really?
That's what I experience. You're still young, I'm still young.
Yeah.
But you don't see like 50, 60-year-old people going around as well dressed and showing off as much as we do on the younger.
We have to show off. We have to. It's the drip. It's the drip.
But is it so? I'm 47 now.
Yeah.
And that's the drip and the bling and all that stuff.
Going away slowly.
What's it for? And if you ask yourself who you're doing it for,
it's the people.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where we lose authenticity within ourselves, and it's a dangerous place to go. I'm not saying don't get nice stuff. If you want nice stuff, get it. But be doing it for the right reasons.
But generally, I think this is also a race thing, which I want to tear into it, and I want you to share with me your thoughts, and be very free to do so. If I make money today, I'm going to buy a Mercedes-Benz, right? Or I'm going to buy one of these expensive cars, because I didn't see it growing up.
Yeah.
And obviously my tribe will be very happy to see me in that. You know what I mean? They'll celebrate me. Of course, the witchcraft will come in later, but at the very essence, they'll celebrate that. Yeah. But I realized that with perhaps the white community, if I put it in that manner, you guys are more reserved, you're more chilled, laid back with, you know, there isn't that much. I don't know, is it there in that community as well?
So I think there's lots of different elements involved. So if you look at people's characters rather than races, there's certain characters that is the way that they need to feel affirmed as themselves. And feel, you know, worthwhile and respected and all of those kind of things through material or the recognition of others. And that's certain characters. I'm not one of those characters. So like for me, I love motor vehicles, talking about buying a Benz. I would love to buy a Benz. But I've been through that process of looking at my ambition and saying, motor vehicles, I love, yes, that is who I am. What kind do I want? And so what kind of motor vehicle do you think I drive?
Let me guess. It's a white thing, guys. I think you know this. It's a Land Cruiser. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I right?
It's a Toyota Land Cruiser, yeah.
There you go. It's either a Land Cruiser or Hilux or maybe to some extent Isuzu.
Yeah.
You guys love
So
this
it's a
guy.
twin cab or a Land Cruiser.
Yeah, a functional vehicle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So for me, it took time to get there.
Yeah.
And what helped me get there was thinking honestly about, like, how do I validate myself? Is it through the kind of motor vehicle that I drive, or is it through what I do in life?
Cham. Where I come from, it's about the vehicle. It's
No, I know.
about the shoes. It's everything.
Even for me, if I was to come to work in a nice brand new M class,
Mhm.
the people, the white community, my friends, my family, they would also, this guy's done well.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I know.
But like,
I think it's a thing. Like you've done well when you've got a Land Cruiser. You're good. Because it's actually an expensive car anyway.
Also, yeah, but it's not a Benz.
Of course.
So what I'm saying is I think there is the cultural difference, but I think there's also a character difference that comes in.
Yeah, correct.
And then I think it's also a little bit to do with age.
Mhm.
So the younger we are, the more likely we are to go and
buy that car.
put money into a motor vehicle.
Of course.
And I know lots of people that I've kind of grown up with that have done that. They've made some money, and obviously you go and buy a new car and make it as, unique and different and as impressive as you can. So even if you're buying a Benz, you're going to do some extra stuff to it if you've got some extra money.
Of course. But there's something that I've learned across the my journey. There's something called quiet luxury. So for example, I look at the clothes we're wearing, right? How much is your shirt?
I have no idea.
Yeah, but
I would hope it's not more than like $30.
it's probably $80
All right.
the shirt you're wearing, because
Sally bought it for me.
yeah. So it's a very expensive shirt, but very durable, very strong and proper, right, in terms of quality. But you find that the younger we are, we're chasing maybe names.
Yeah.
Is it a Versace? Is it a what? And you get that, right? But the next person is looking very simple. You are wearing shorts there, right? Very nice shorts, very expensive shorts, good brand too. So if we calculate what you're wearing and perhaps what I'm wearing, maybe what the youngster is wearing, there's a huge difference there.
Yeah. And I'd say the youngster will win.
I know you'd probably be more expensive, but you look like you're not that expensive. You understand?
Yeah.
And I think it's quite luxury. It's a phenomenon that I've picked up as I've been moving around. But people put emphasis on assets, things like that. That's what drives people, perhaps like you, maybe me. That's the thing. So how many, what is my balance sheet looking like at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And that's where I actually want to go into, like, how do you help people to manage themselves from a growth perspective? Because this is what you teach in your establishment. That's what you guys are about, creating that balance also from a wealth management perspective.
Yeah.
If you can take us through that, how can one manage that?
Okay, so our philosophy and what we teach in our programs or our courses is that we all have ambition, and our ambition is personal. And it's as unique as our fingerprint. It's different. My ambition, your ambition are going to be different. There might be some similarities, but what you want out of life and what you think is going to make you happy, and what I want and what's going to make me happy, are not necessarily the same things. And that's okay, and that's how it's meant to be. So when it comes to defining your personal ambition, which is the starting point to finding happiness and success in life, one of the elements is always wealth or finance or balance sheet. So how much money do you want is the question to ask yourself, and then to follow it up with why. Because if we start thinking about it shallowly, we can say I want to be a billionaire because we've romanticized the idea of being a billionaire. But then what does it take to become one, and are you willing to pay that price? Or if you want to be a millionaire, how many millions? What's your number? Because then everything that you do, once you've found your number to be true to you, and you've lived your life on paper first, so you've gone 10, 20, 30, 40 years into the future, and you come back to today. So you've kind of planned or visualized your life, you know, before living it, it helps to get to a true number. Because if we don't do that, we are influenced and misguided by ego. And our ego dictates that we try and be better than someone else. So if you and me, I've got to have more money than you. Otherwise, you're better than me. But in truthfulness, it doesn't matter how much money you want or I want. If I've got my number and you've got your number, we will both be happy. I'll be driving my 100 series, you'll be driving your Benz, and you'll be doing whatever you want, and you'll be happy. That's the thing that I think is the most important to get right. Because if I've got that ambition, and say my ambition is $10 million, I must then go and create a business and a lifestyle around the $10 million price tag. If yours is 100 million, you're going to have better things and bigger things and more things than me. Doesn't make us different. If your ambition is 1 million, it equally doesn't make us any different.
Yeah. So how critical then is it to really have a conversation with yourself? And I think it's the most difficult thing to take stock of yourself, to take stock of your life, where you are now and where you want to be. What are the tools that one can perhaps employ for their personal growth? I heard you talking about you go ahead 30 to 40 years ahead.
100 years old.
100 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. There's just a few people that can achieve that, I think, now.
But people are living longer. And we don't know when we're going to die. But we should imagine living to be 100 years old. And what does that life look like? So you try and take yourself to the end. If I get to 100 years old with sound mind and sound body, and I'm healthy, and I've got some money in the bank, and I'm happy to be alive, what does it look like? So how would I celebrate my 100th birthday if I make it there? And then you come back and try and imagine, so then what would I be doing in my 90s? What would I be doing in my 80s? Straight. For free as well. Because by then you should have some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, invite anyone else who's still alive to come.
Oh, geez, a pool party. At 100, we're celebrating 100, baby. It's 100.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
And imagine, like for our age, because you're also in your 40s,
yeah, I've been in my 40s,
you could have a rave, which by then I think would be very old-fashioned.
We're putting pop.
Yeah. So, but that's the system. You've got to try and imagine enjoying and having some humor, because that's what life's about.
Yeah,
it's about enjoying it. It's not about all the other stuff that we get so distracted with along the way.
But you know what, Brandon, there's motivation that kicks us into it, and then there's the discipline that is obviously required to capture this and make it happen. And then obviously when you want to get to 100, you have to eat well, you have to exercise, there's a lot of things that you have to put into place to make sure that you actually attempt to get to 100.
Yeah.
And possibly you can. But there's pressures of life, Jam. Right now we're sitting here, I'm thinking, yeah, next week it's feast time. Today, I gotta pay my team. Tomorrow, I gotta do this. There's pressure of life. And how do you manage that when you also have to be thinking straight, and you've got this diary where you're writing things every day and you're trying to make this perfect life, but there's also pressures of life?
So to me, it's an ideal life. Perfect is something we're always striving towards. And along the way there, we should live in our version of our ideal life. Does that make sense? The looking all the way to the future and coming back to today with the real day-to-day pressures that we have to do and deal with, knowing that we're going to get there, it gives perspective. These little pressures that we have today become smaller.
They're big pressures.
Right now, yes, they're big.
Huge pressures.
But if you don't have that future outlook, these big pressures become bigger than they are. I'm not trying to downsize them, because I have them myself. We all do.
Yeah.
But it gives perspective. This is a period we're going to get through. We already got through last month. You also had to pay your people and do X, Y, and Z. But you're still alive here this month. How did that happen?
Miracles.
It will happen again. By the end of April, you'll be sitting there saying, yeah, I've got to do pay, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
And it will be a challenge again, more than likely.
There's,
And we've got to work through all of those things. That's growth.
Mm.
And that's adulthood.
yeah. It's tough, eh? It's very tough. It's very difficult for everybody. And as we are learning also, it doesn't care. It does not have divide. It's everywhere. There are problems everywhere. There are solutions that need to be put everywhere.
Yeah.
And in one of your classes, you talk about the importance of mastering your figures. You spoke about it earlier on to say you got to have a number in your head that you're working towards. So if it's $1 million, I think we worked it up to about $500 an hour, is it?
Yes, $1
Somewhere
million
there.
per annum
Yeah,
is about
$1 million.
500.
Yeah, $1 million per annum. So it's per year, right? It's got to be 500 or so. How important is it then for us to be able to manage those numbers and understand them and make them second nature?
So the key philosophy of ours is what you measure is what you get. So if whatever you want out of life, find a way to measure it. So if it's $1 million, break the big numbers down into smaller numbers so we can have more perspective of what that number actually looks like and what it means. So if you say to me you want $1 million a year, it doesn't resonate with me because it's just a big number and it's a big time frame. But when you've broken it down to 80,000 a month, or 20,000 a week, or 4,000 a day, or 500 an hour, now it makes sense. And I'm like, cheapers, that's a lot. $500 an hour, every hour, for 5 days a week, for 12 months of the year. It's a proper
it's a lot of
achievement.
Work.
Yeah. And the reward is big. That's the million. So when you're looking at the numbers, is always break the big ones down into something that your mind can process and understand and give perspective to. Because then you can go and create a strategy around that. You can look at how much money did I earn today. There was 8 hours. I should have earned 4,000. I only got 3, and I only got, say you got 40.
Yeah.
So now you know the gap. You've got to find another $460 for what, whatever the maths was, to close that gap. When you've closed that gap, then you'll be at the correct, you'll be at the million.
Yeah,
and it helps you to understand the cost. So what people don't do naturally is we don't work out the cost of the reward. And whenever you say cost to people, people immediately, and it's the way we all are, we start thinking of the financial cost only. But there's an emotional cost, there's a health cost, there's a family cost, there's all these other costs that we don't look at. And that's where people make mistakes.
So what would be your advice then to a person who's perhaps watching and listening to you now, in terms of arriving at that number? What do I have to factor in for me to be able to say, okay, maybe it's not $1 million for me, maybe it's just 50K, and then I'm happy, I'm balanced, I'm this.
Yeah. So I can only speak from my own experience and what worked for me.
Yeah.
So for me, it was looking into the future. So beyond being an executive or actively working in the day-to-day. So like at a point of retirement, when I'm no longer receiving a salary and a bonus, what kind of lifestyle do I want to live? And then trying to put a dollar value to that lifestyle. So I've got 4 children. I didn't plan that one out properly. I didn't understand the financial implications, which is good. I'm glad I've got the 4 children. But there's a cost per child. Then there's a lifestyle that Sally and I want to live. And there's a cost attached to that. There's motor vehicles that we want to drive, holidays we want to have. There's savings that we want to have available. We don't want to be dependent on our children or anything else. Once we retired, we want to create our own retirement fund, our own pension, essentially. So basically what I did is I worked that out and I came back to a number per month. Then I took that number out to an annual number. And then the next key thing that I learned was to work out, because if you're going to be getting money that you're not working for, it's called passive revenue. So like, for example, if you buy a second home or a flat, you rent that out to someone, they pay the rent. You didn't work for that rental money, it just arrived. but you did work to buy the flat in the first place. So look at a return on investment percentage. So if you invest in something, you do it for a return. So my return on investment number that I came up with, and it was simply for easy maths, was 7% per annum. So if I'm going to invest anything, I want at least a 7% return, because that enables me to go and understand right now what I need to do and what I need to invest in to get my monthly passive revenue to live the life that I want until I die at up to 100.
Just as an aside though, you guys always go on holidays.
Yes.
Like it looks like you all, it's a checking out my holidays, Brendan. Is that a culture thing, or it's something that I can learn too, something that we can learn
Something
too?
that you must learn.
Must.
And there's a science to it. It's not a theoretical thing.
Yeah, because it sounds very theoretical. Like
So,
there's some money that your grandmother left somewhere, and you're just chowing into it. You know what I mean?
yeah. So the science of it
Uh-huh.
is, I think maybe it is a cultural thing. Like with my family, we used to go on holidays, not as often as I do, but it was part of the culture. That's what we must do. We must go on holiday. But the science of it is, if you imagine your energy as a human comes from a battery, the expected useful life of that battery is 6 weeks long. So in our normal day-to-day environment, going to work, coming home, if we live in Harare, just being in Harare, the recharge station that we plug into at night does not deliver a full recharge. So if you imagine on your phone, if you keep charging it all the time, eventually the battery gets unhappy and it no longer holds or recharges properly.
Yeah.
The human energy is the same. So what they've worked out, and I don't know who they are, they are generally the clever people, but they've worked out that every 6 weeks, in order to maintain high performance levels consistently, the human is required to have a break from their normal day-to-day environment. And that's where we receive a proper recharge.
Okay.
So the holiday or the break is that. It's the recharge. And there's a common misconception that only rich people go on holiday.
No, but it is.
So
how can I go on holiday when I'm thinking of bread issues?
So my theory
Yeah.
is that people only get rich because they go on holiday. So when was your last holiday? When did you last have a break?
I'm gonna have one now. I'm looking forward to one, but I try to break off, and I think my last holiday was about 3 months ago, I think.
Okay, so it's more than 6 weeks. But
I have to go every 6 weeks.
Yes, every 6 weeks. And it doesn't have to be an expensive holiday.
Yeah.
You don't have to jump on an aeroplane. You just go somewhere
what is a holiday
outside of your normal environment.
Outside of your normal environment. So you can just drive to Shamva and stay somewhere.
Even if it's for the day. Better if you go for a night because you get a better recharge. And you just have a change from the normal stuff that you're seeing, doing, smelling, all of that.
Every 6 weeks.
Every 6 weeks.
Guys, you had it 6 weeks, huh? Make sure.
It's the way the school terms have been designed in Zim is every 6 weeks.
Yeah, so that's why there's the half term.
Holidays, half-term holidays.
Now you see the culprits, guys. Half-term. Because when I think about half-term, is like, hey, my kids are going to be at home. Yeah. The fridge, jump.
Yeah.
And things just, don't know. So I want to wrap this conversation up, Brendan. But before I do so, you have this establishment, and it looks like a closed club. You've got the ABL that you offer. I just want you to sort of explain what these courses are, maybe in a very, in a very quick way, as it were, so that my friends can come and join you here. Because I have had an amazing time learning here together with my team. Some are attending the school. I hope Brendan will also extend the complimentary to one or two of our viewers to come and see what these courses are about, because I think they're really great. So he says it's a deal. We've managed to corner him live on TV. So just if you can just explain and share real quick.
Okay, so we've got a suite of programs, and very quickly they're designed to go as training programs for CEOs, executives, middle management, down to lower management. And we've got different courses that tailor to those different levels of people in corporate. And then we've got the people not necessarily in business, and that's where our personal high performance programs come in. So we've got, do you want me to name the program so people
Well,
are
perhaps
familiar?
people can go on the website and see, but the most important ones, I think, from a business perspective, because we're talking to people who want to improve their lives and their workspace.
Okay, so we've got the ABLE program, which is online and for CEOs and executives. Then we've got the mastermind.
That's Acumen for business leaders.
Acumen for business leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a website, Acumen for business leaders.
Okay.
You can get the info there. Then we've got Mastermind, which is a SABRE product, and that's one-on-one coaching over 12 months. That's where we deep dive into you, your business, and your journey. And that's very, very popular and very well received in the market. It's a game changer of a product. Then the course that you're doing, Ignite Your Business, is for your smaller businesses or your middle management down to even junior management in some cases. Then Ignite Your Success is for the not so business oriented people.
Yeah, that's the one that our operations guy at work does, Kudzai.
Yes.
He's been attending that one, and I think he says he's changed it.
Brilliant. That's good to hear, Kudzai. So what that does for you, sending Kudzai on that course, is he's going to learn to document his personal ambition. And then you as a leader, as a good leader, will want to understand what his ambition is so that you can help play your part in him achieving it in your business. Because then you get a multiplication of energy between you and Kudzai.
Okay. Fantastic. So guys, you have to try and find these guys. I think it's an exciting program. It has changed my life. I'm not even advertising it. I'm just sharing with you the secrets of success. And that's why we get to talk to people who have seen it, who have done it, and they're willing to share it. And this is what Brendan does for a living. He's a passionate guy as far as this is concerned. And he's also very passionate about holidays. We got to find out today. Which one is your favorite 3 destinations in Zimbabwe?
It's a tough one. I still haven't explored all of Zimbabwe.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So I've got one up on you there, yeah?
Have you been everywhere?
Length and breadth of the country.
But I'm excited because I haven't.
Yeah.
And I've still got places I haven't yet been to.
Yeah.
My favorite, I love going to Nyanga, so I love the mountains. I like going there in winter because then you can have fires. And there's something about
fires on the mountains.
In the house that you're staying in.
Because I was not like but there's also these creepy stories that have you heard them where people disappear.
The mountain eats you. Yeah, there's rules.
There's rules.
Yeah, don't break the rules. There's serious consequence.
I see. Yeah.
So I like Nyanga. I like going where there's water. So like Kariba or Chirundu or.
Are you a fisherman?
Darwindale. I fish. I wouldn't class myself as a fisherman. I'm there more just to enjoy nature. And then I like going into the bush. So I like getting away from people, away from cities, away from pollution.
Do you shoot by any chance?
I don't shoot. I shot in my youth.
Do you own a gun though?
I don't own a gun. I've got a pellet gun. It doesn't count.
This is a black murungu. You must buy a gun. So that's what you guys do, right?
My pellet gun looks like a gun.
Oh, so. It looks like a gun.
That's not even mine. It's my kid's gun.
It's your kid's gun. It's not yours at all.
No.
Okay, cool. So he's going to take us out on a fishing expedition one day. Maybe we can film it for you and we get to see what they do when they sit in these boats. We always see you guys with your Land Cruiser. Nichikepe kumashure. Where will you be going?
So you're going to a river or a dam.
Do you own a boat?
Kariba. I do.
Typical. You know, like, so, but what is it about those boats? Like, because I think it's a bit fancy, you know, it's a bit fancy. You're driving,
like talking about the Benz.
Eh?
You have to buy a Benz in your culture.
Yeah.
We have to have a boat.
Yeah, so I was in bigger and snatch kepe. And your phenomenon on this, your thoughts on this phenomenon of the Mbinga world that we live in. I'm sure you've seen.
What's the Mbinga world?
Mbinga is a person who has like obnoxious amounts of money and they're not afraid to show it.
So I'm obviously not that way inclined.
Quite luxury.
So I don't understand it. So I can't really.
But is it there in your community?
Yeah, it is. There's some. Generally, what I have learnt is the majority of those people that show it off, you know, what did you say, obnoxiously?
Yeah.
They don't actually have the money. In some cases, sometimes that's not the case, but in most cases, they're pretending to have it. Yeah. And maybe it's, you know, it's not real.
I see. So anyway, I think it leaves me to say thank you to you for making time to talk to us. And I hope you can connect us to all your friends who have come through, especially these courses, perhaps to share their benefits also, and you know, their balance in life, how that is going. But I think it's a fallacy. Really, it's difficult to balance.
It's difficult.
It's absolutely difficult.
Yeah.
You guys fight though, like we fight. Like in
In marriage?
And...
Yeah. I think you've got to be good at fighting to stay married.
Yes, baby.
So, but can I finish? Maybe I need to add on to that.
Yeah.
Good at fighting and also good at making up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
You have to have like a bucket of stories.
Yeah. Right? Isn't it more authentic and genuine to get angry with each other as humans? And if it's a husband and wife, of course we must shout. But then we must be nice to each other after.
And who does the groceries at home? Like, is it you?
So we've taken turns, eh? So, you know, part of marriage is learning and growing together.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, Sally was like, it is not a woman's job to do the groceries.
She sounds feisty.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, fine, then I'll do it. Then, so I did it for, I think I had the job for 2 years. But towards the end, I wasn't enjoying it. I don't enjoy shopping. Like I don't even buy my clothes anymore. So I started messing it up towards the end and spending more money than what the budget was and buying more beer.
Was that a genuine
buy more
mess up, or it was
buy more beer than food and
more Zambezi?
So Sally started getting more and more annoyed, and then she took over, and it was much better.
It was much better. Now you just provide the money, and you're good to go.
Yeah, now we've sorted it out, and she's happy to do the groceries, and then I've got my list of responsibilities in the home, and she doesn't worry about my stuff. I don't worry about her stuff. We kind of just get it done.
And working together now, like you spend the day together at work, you spend the night at home, and then you have to wake up again and go back. How does it work?
So the first 15 years of us having our own businesses, we were in the same business working together. And it's very, very difficult. And the thing that I think helped us the most was splitting the responsibilities and making one of us the boss. Because in the beginning...
Who's the boss?
Sally's the boss. But on paper, I'm the boss. So something I've learned with also to preserve your marriage
is marriage wisdom.
Allow Sally to be the boss.
Yeah, otherwise
then everything's happy. No, so I've been the CEO.
Yeah.
And Sally's been, in one of the executive roles as a director. So in the beginning though, it was hard because she also wanted to be the CEO. And until she understood what the CEO is responsible for. And then she was quite happy to let me be the one that might be spending a holiday in a small room with a small window if things break the rules.
Yeah.
But it was splitting the roles and responsibilities at work and at home.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, what's helped us to be able to do it.
Do you think her uncle would be proud of you, Eric?
Yeah, he is. He's still around. Yeah, he is. He's proud. We get to talk to him at least once a year with a proper family update and a business update. Yeah, so he is, and he played a huge part in us getting here, which he knows about.
So the thing is, get a mentor, guys, get an accountability partner to make sure that your life is balanced, it goes well. These guys are doing it, they are making it, and we're going to be talking to more of the guys who are actually making it in life. And if you've got somebody that you want us to sit down with here and have a conversation with, to share their success and to share how they've made it, that's what we're made for here on the Chief Koti Show. Brendan, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate you. Yeah. And guys, I will see you next time. And
Speaking beyond our borders, on land, on the seas and in the air. That was the Chief Koti Show.